All right, so we're starting with the idea boards that we have, the questions that we got from you as a team. And we're going to start with the first question, which is, what is relative sizing? But if it decides to move with me, what relative sizing versus absolute sizing best practices? I would say best practices is we do relative sizing. There's no, like, think about it this way. Absolute sizing is something that I would say it is the nirvana or the dream of Agile, or the dream of any company, is that you actually understand exactly what is the size. So I want you to think about it this way. If you have your car about to go to service today, and it needs oil change, and it needs brakes, and it needs, I don't know, to change, I don't know, the water pump. So you know that there's 3 pieces in this car that needs to be fixed, and you just dropped it to the dealer today. Your dream, right? Your ultimate dream as a customer is to drop it, and they tell you you're going to receive this car in 3 hours and 33 minutes, right? Now you can plan your day perfectly. You know that exactly in 3 hours and 33 minutes, the car will be ready, so I can be exactly in front of that shop, pick my car, and off we go, right? So now that's an absolute sizing. That's like, I'm confident 100% that it's going to be done exactly at this time. But I want you to think that we're humans, and it never happens that even if you drop your car in service and they tell you it's going to be done at 2, sometimes it's going to be done even at 10 a.m., which is they finish it a lot earlier, or sometimes it's going to take even until the second day. So as humans, we're very bad, if you want to say, at giving exact measurement or exact timing or exact predictions, right? That's why in the news they tell you it's going to be between blah 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 and between blah blah blah. They never give you exact number because we're bad at it. But we found that we're very good at actually relatively size, which is your car is more expensive than my car. Your house is bigger than my house, right? I am taller than you are. So relating to something is a lot easier than actually just coming up off a number. Okay, so this is what I would say in Agile kind of like agreed that we're going to actually stick to relative sizing, which is, you found this, and this is how I work with my POs, is I actually work with, and this is something here that I wanted to share. So this is how I teach my team what relative sizing is. If I just remove this, okay, and I ask the team, I come here and I also sometimes just even do that. Oops. Sometimes I do that. So you don't see anything, right? And I start this, can everybody just see a blank sheet right now with just 10th mention, blah, 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 almost?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is how I teach my team what relative sizing is. I go to them and I tell them, well, if I ask you how to build a tent, can you explain to me how can you build a tent? And let me ask the whole team here. Can somebody tell me in your logical mind, what are the steps to build a tent? And we look at sizing from 3 angles. We look at sizing from complexity, uncertainty, and pretty much of complexity, uncertainty, and the effort that you're going to put in it. So 3 angles: how complex it is, how much effort I'm going to put in it, and how certain I am that I'm able to do the job. It might be something that I've never done before. So if I'm uncertain that I've never done, or if I'm certain that I've never done a tent before, or I've never built a tent before, I might, if I want to size it, I'm going to say, this is a big effort. I've never done it. So given the understanding that I've never done it will make the size bigger or the effort even bigger, because it's just going to require me time to research as well, right? So we don't look at time, we look again at complexity, effort, and uncertainty. So if I ask you in your logical mind how to build a tent, can somebody answer me on this call? And again, all what we're doing in this class is kind of like giving you hints how to run meetings, right? And this is how you're gonna, and this question that I just dropped here, what is the difference between relative sizing and absolute? I can guarantee to you at some time on your career, outside this class, you're gonna have to explain exactly what I'm doing to 20 team members on a call, for example, right? And you have to be very clear about what your goal here. Your goal is to let the team understand or digest what relative sizing is and how it is in humans a lot easier than just giving a specific time. So again, let me ask the team, anybody wants to pitch how to build a tent?
Yeah, you dig a hole and put the poles in it, and then you add the top piece, I guess.
Okay, yeah. That's it? Like any other logistics that you think of?
Probably getting a rope if it's like a camp tent.
Okay.
To tie the sticks together.
Okay, so we've talked about a rope, we've talked about tying sticks, okay, and we've talked about digging a hole, and we've talked about a tarp. Anything else that we're thinking of?
The height.
The height of the tent, which is going to be the stick that actually rises that tarp, right? Okay, I think this is pretty fair, what we've just uncovered. So if I actually uncover what I have here,
hello, Mohammed.
Go for it.
Do we need to consider the capacity, that the tent need to take in order to know,
This is a very fair question. And you know what, Aki, I've actually had people asking the same questions in my team. And my answer would be, we're trying to build the simplest tent ever. And this is, again, if you get asked about something, you need clear requirement. And thank you for asking. Do we need to make it a big tent? How many people does it actually take this tent? So this is the simplest tent ever. One person, cheap $14 camp tent, or even something that you're going to make yourself. But just one person, the smallest tent, emergency tent, that you are stuck in the desert and you have to, and it's raining, so you're gonna have to build a tent. Okay, so let's reveal what a tent is to me. Is sticks, tarp, one stick even. I don't need sticks. I need one stick. I need a tarp. I need 3 rocks and a rope. I got myself a tent. Any disagreement from anybody? The simplest tent ever. Okay, so this is, if I size this and I say it's simple to me, like, and again, you got to start somewhere. So I'm going to say maybe this is going to take me, I don't know, a couple of hours, but it's pretty simple. I just need to grab the sticks and the tarp and the rocks, put it with the rope, and I got myself a tent. Okay, so that's if I size it just like to, hypothetically, let's take the tent as a 1, just an effort 1. And we use sizing, we use something called Fibonacci sequence, which is, I don't know if everybody knows what Fibonacci sequence is, but Fibonacci sequence.
The numbers, the preceding 2 numbers, when you add them together.
Exactly. So Fibonacci is something that it is what I want to share. Yes, it is 1 + 1 is a 2, 2 + 3 is a 5, 3 + 5 is an 8. So we use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. Why don't we use all the numbers? Because we don't want a lot of options, right? It gives you a jump. Either it's a 1, either it's a 2, then you jump to a 3, and then it gets more serious to a 5, and it gets, whoa, we're moving to an 8. Now we're moving to a double digits. Now we're moving to a bigger double digits. So now we're coming to closer to 50, and then you move to 3 digits. So it gives you kind of like a logical jump. That now you're moving to a bigger effort. And I want to share that this is coming from nature. This is something they call it the perfect sequence. You'll find it in flowers, you'll find it in your arm. This is from the flowers, so it starts from something small and then it gives you this exact jump. So as humans, we're very used to it in our nature, but also on the human body as well. So bad at spelling. Okay, so you can see in the human body, pretty much like you will find Fibonacci sequence in your body, in your ear. It is fascinating how much you will find it in your body, in your arm, on your fingers, on your toe. It is very on your knuckles. It starts smaller and it gets bigger, smaller knuckle, a whole finger, a whole hand, and then a whole arm. So it is, they call it, that's funny, they call it perfect ratio. And I think it is it is something that we've picked because it's in the nature, in our body, we see everywhere, and it gives you a logical that you're jumping. But back to the sheet that I wanted to share with everybody about the tent. So back to the tent. So if I ask to build a shack, how to build a shack? A very simple shack. I'm going to reveal it so just we don't take so much time. So a shack, I need walls. Sometimes even I could get like dry walls or plastic walls, floor, door. I want to be fancy and have a light bulb in it. So electric wire and a switch. This is what I need for a shack. Now, actually, I need a roof as well, right? Now, if I ask to build a small room, right, I need the same walls, floor, door, or I need roofing, window frames now, I need glass for the window, I need light and electric wire. Now, if I ask you to build a house, it's going to go super deep now. Prepare constructor, complete rough framing, install it, blah, 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 insulation, drywall, interior, coloring, fixtures, shower, so many countertops, all of that. You build a mansion, you go crazy, right? You're building a pool, I want a tennis court, I want also a helicopter pad, and I want, a runway for my 777. So yeah, so all these, you can go even bigger and bigger. But guess what? This is how we build software, is a product owner comes in a refinement session and brings a story. Story is to build a tent. As a customer, I want to have a tent, so when it rains in the desert, I am protected. Acceptance criteria of the tent is the tent should be standing firm, the tent in the rain should not leak water, the tent should actually absorb one or accommodate 1 to 2 persons, the tent should be safe and stuck to the ground, and we should do like a stress test on the tent and try to shake it and see if it doesn't fall. That's a user story for a tent. And now the team will like, I think this is a 1. Okay. So now the same product owner is going to be, well, next story is building a shack. As a customer, or I don't know, as a wanderer in the desert, I want to build a shack so I get protected from the storms. We live in a stormy area. I want to make sure that the shack actually has proper wall, strong walls that actually does not let the wind. There is a windbreaker and actually protects you from the rain. And it has also good shade that protect you from the sun. It should have a light in it, and it should have a light switch that turns on and off, and it should have a roof that actually does not leak. Pretty much, that's an acceptance criteria. Now we'll ask the team what do we think the size is? And we use a fun platform that I use for all my teams, which is called Pointing Poker. So I'm going to start the session. It's very simple, and I'm sharing it with everyone. So I just open Pointing Poker, start the session. Okay, let's call the session 10 and check. Join the session. Oh, my bad. I forget about this. Start the session and join this. Oh, this is my name. So I should add my Ahmed. Join the session. And then I'm going to copy this link and send it to everybody here in the chat. Please let me know if you're not able to hit the link. So we're going to come back here. As a Scrum Master, I sent the link to everybody and I asked everybody to hit the link. Now we're sizing the shack. Okay, so team, what do we think the size is? Please start voting. So right now I see Ogo just joined. I see Olo just joined. And now everybody please vote. And I'm sharing my screen. This is what I am seeing as, I would say, the facilitator. So I could see that, for example, Asad, I'm still waiting on Asad, still waiting on Doris, still waiting on Kenneth. So I could try to make sure that I'm getting the votes of everybody as well on the call. So Still waiting for Olo, still waiting for Kenneth. Anyway, so once we get everybody, now you can see I'm going to reveal show votes, and now I have 3 votes at 5 points. I have 3 votes at 3, 8. But team, are we thinking really about, so what we're saying, I'm not asking you to just randomly vote. We're voting to actually size the shack compared to the tent. The tent was a 1. Are you saying the shack is an 8? It could be, but I'd like to hear from the 2 people that thinks the shack is an 8 compared to the tent, for example, because that's what I'd like to go. I'd like to go next, for example, to the next one, which is a small room. So if we're comparing, if we're saying a shack is an 8, for example, now the small room, if we're sizing it, this could be 50 or something. So I really want us to be a little bit more logical about the sizing as well. So a shack to the tent, do we think is it 8 times bigger than the tent? So let me vote again. So we have 7 votes at 5, we have 3 votes at 3, and we have 1 vote at 8. As a Scrum Master, that's what I'm going to say is, Mr. 8, do you want to convince the rest of the team why do you think it's an 8? So let me ask Kenneth, do you want to convince the team why do you think this is an 8? Kenneth, if you are with us, would you like to convince the team why this is an 8? Okay. Kenneth does not want to tell us, so let me go to Asad. Do you want to convince the team why it's an 8, or you are good with the lower number?
I will go with the lower number. I accidentally did the 8, but I will go with the 5.
Okay, you can still change your vote all the time, and I'm glad that we're doing this as well, so everybody, we get a chance to play with this tool. So you can change the vote all the time. So I can put 0 points, I can put 1, I still can vote. And I can say, I don't know even. I don't want to vote, I've never done it before. So anyway, the moral of the story, all of us were gonna agree on a number pretty much. And we're usually, I would like to agree on the higher number. So I have 5 votes at 10 votes at 5. Any disagreement on a 5 here? That's what I'm gonna do. Any disagreement on a 5? And now we're going to hear crickets like what we're hearing now. Silence. Silence is a loud yes. Okay, that's how I interpret it. Is there any disagreement on a 5? No. 5 it is. Sold. Let's move to the next one. We say a room, small room, compared to the shack, what would be the size of a small room compared to the shack? And what we're going to use is the same length. What I'm going to do is clear the votes. And now I'm going to ask the same team members to vote. Now, this is, again, we've sized the tent out of 1, we've sized the shack out of 5. What do you think a small room is? All right, so I see. Okay, I see 1 vote at 3. This does not make sense to me, but please let me know, because this is something that will come up in the meetings. That somebody thinks it's a 3. Do you think it's bigger? Or even, yeah, the person that voted a 3, do you think that a small room is a smaller effort than the shack? You might have something that we don't know. A developer might say, hey, we actually have all the walls that we built it before. We can use it from another story. So you might be able to convince the team that this is a lot smaller, but you gotta have an explanation, right? So we have 2 team members saying it's a 5. Do you think building a small room exactly the same effort and complexity and uncertainty like building a shack? And this is for Olo, and also whoever size 5 is going to be, yeah, I don't know who's the second 5, you didn't put your name, but I'm asking whoever put 5, do you think putting a small room effort, complexity, and uncertainty is the same effort as building a small shack?
No, I choose 3 when we talked about the shack. I choose 3, but I didn't know how.
Yeah, but as a team, again, this is the thing, as a team, right? And I've asked everybody, is there any disagreement on a 5, right? If you have not raised your disagreement and we've agreed as a team, all of us, that a shack is a 5, now we're relatively sizing between those. We have 2 reference points. You have a tent, which is a 1, a shack a 5. If you think a small room is bigger, it's gotta be bigger than these two numbers. If you think it's the same, I'm okay with the same. If you think it's smaller, it's gonna be between these two numbers. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
That what is relative sizing is we're relating to a reference point, something that we did in the past, or we've agreed that this would be the size for it. So now you keep building on top of it. The team will build the bust, that I would say the sizing muscle, that you don't always to see the reference point in front of you moving forward. We work together as a team with multiple months. The team will know, well, a story is the one is somewhere, and now we're going to be always like relating in our mind, not actually necessarily have to see a reference point. Okay, so I see a votes around 8 on the small room. Any disagreement on an 8 here?
No, it's cool.
8 it is. Now we're going to do the same for a house and a mansion. The house could go for a 13, a mansion could go for a lot bigger. I just wanted to kind of like give you the experience, how I do sizing with the team and how I actually make the team digest what is relative sizing. So definitely relative sizing gives you a room for the uncertainty, because you're not giving an absolute sizing, you're giving this is what I feel between those two numbers, and the more your team does relative sizing, the more that this relative number will be very closer to accurate.
Okay.
Any questions from the team? Did I answer your question about relative sizing and absolute sizing?
I have a question.
Oh,
Yes, so when we are doing relative sizing, we are considering historical data, like you said, like something we've done before. What if it's a new thing that we are building and we have no history?
This is a perfect question. This is a perfect question because as a Scrum Master, you're gonna deal with both situations. You're gonna work with teams that they had history before, so you can relate to something, right? But guess what? We just as a team today did not have any history, right? And we started from a story that we've never heard about it before. So if you don't have history, this is how and I'm glad that you brought this question. Thank you. So before I walk to the first grooming session with the team, I actually touch base with the PO and tell her or him, Mrs. PO, can you please help me to start this session with the smallest story ever that you believe that it is the smallest thing ever that you have in your backlog? So I want to always to start with something that I get the smallest reference. So even if we size the tent and the team said that this is a 2, that's perfectly fine. And then we're going to come to the shack and say it's a 5. And guess what? We're going to come to the room and say, this is actually a 5. And you know what? Let's put the shack as a 3 and the tent is a 1. And now we're going to have a reference that the tent here is our 1. You see what I mean? So we can work with the PO in the background as Scrum Master to go and, hey, can you have, this is the first session, grooming session with the team. The team does not have any I would say, historical data to look at. So let's try to construct this session by bringing the smallest piece of work ever so we can have it as a reference point, and then we can start building on top of it. Once you have one reference point, you can get to the second, but once you have 2 reference points, you're good. You can keep moving forward because you can always say, is it bigger than this or is it smaller than this? And once you get here, is it bigger or smaller, right? So the more you get reference points, the more it's going to get a piece of cake. And I thought I was sharing, but over here, pretty much once you get the reference point as a 10, pretty much it's going to be super easy to reference for the 10 that it's 3 times the 10. And once you get 2 reference points, it's going to be super easy to get the third one. And once you have the 3 reference points, it's going to stone for it. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm so sorry. The sizing, does it have to be the Scrum Master that is in charge of the sizing or the PO?
When you say in charge of the sizing, can you elaborate? Because I'm just going to give you 2 scenarios. I work with the team, let's call it Team Yankee, okay? Team Yankee has a PO, and I help the PO with every session with making the link that I just shared with you active, like I start that planning poker and I send it in the background, but the PO will be sharing the screen exactly like this. and we'll be starting looking at the backlog with the first story, start explaining it. I will be in the background sending the link and actually facilitating the session. I'll be like, okay, I see the votes still waiting on John to vote. Okay, once everybody voted, okay, I see most of the vote is around 1, but I see somebody is a 3. Mr. 3, do you want to convince the team why it's a 3? And then be like, oh, I'll be okay with 1. Okay, any disagreement with the 1? 1 it is. Let's move to the next one. So being a Scrum Master or having a Scrum Master in the room will make sure, as a Scrum Master, I always think about time. I want to make sure that we are on time, we finish on time, but also I want to make sure that we're having a value, like we're actually sizing work and we're not sticking on a single story for the whole session. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So that's having a Scrum Master. I want to tell you another scenario, which is another team that calls Team Victor, for example. Team Victor, the PO likes to run the whole session, likes to share screen, and likes actually to do the planning poker, and having the Scrum Master there is just watching. That's perfectly fine as well. But again, as long as we have the skill and your PO wants to do it, that's perfectly fine. But as long as we know how to run the session and that your PO is slacking or moving slower or actually needs help, this is how we can help, pretty much.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I see we're coming very close to time, but definitely nice conversation. I'm gonna take one more card and then we're gonna dive into, I'm gonna try to look at the next cards and we can prepare for the next session. Okay, PI planning versus sprint planning. Let me just share the screen. PI planning versus sprint planning. As a user, I need to do 1, 2, 3 in order for me to review. Okay, PI planning versus sprint planning. As a user, I need to do 1, 2, 3 in order for me to view the page. Acceptance criteria or the AC is I will call this story complete if I am able to close the main page. 5 story points. Who does code review and UAT? Testing, some things, same things as UAT testing. Okay, so let's start with the first one. PI planning versus sprint planning. PI planning is you're planning for 5 sprints and keeping the last sprint as a buffer. That's PI planning. Is you're planning for a whole quarter, for a whole 3 months ahead of you. So this is a 3 month is worth 6 sprints, but we plan only for 5 and keep the last sprint as a buffer, not to bust the whole plan. Sprint planning is on a small scale where you actually look at still there? I'm not sure. Okay, sprint planning is where you actually start the sprint planning by looking at the team's capacity, where every team member gets an 8 points, for example, and now you look at how many days every team is available. This is the only thing I update, which is I'll ask Bota how many days you're available. I'm available 10 days. Thank you. Igrim, how many days you're available? I'm available 5 days. Okay, so that makes you 50%. I have this formula, made it. It's just a simple sheet, points, and it just calculates the commitment and the final points. All what I care about really is not every person. So really what I care about is everybody's availability. This is capacity planning. The first thing I do in sprint planning is actually understanding what is our true capacity, right? So capacity planning is somebody's playing on the sheet and I hope you're having fun. Okay, so capacity planning is the first thing I do, which is asking the team members, how many days are you available in the next sprint? That's on a day wise. And then I flip it to points, which is pretty much every team member gets an 8 points. And now you look at how many days they're available. If you multiply the percentage into the 8 points, you get the final number. And then this is the final number that you get. Pretty much what I really care about is this final number, but I don't want to fill the sprint up to 100% as well. Imagine you're running with a cup of water that it's fully, or it's full. You might spill. So what we don't want to spill. So we want to commit to 90% of that capacity, which is simple as well. 90% multiplied by this number gives you 36. So I start with team and PO. Our capacity is between 40 and 36. This is our safe capacity. Any disagreement? Any questions? We're good? Okay, let's look at our stories. Team, please, if you're not speaking, go on mute. See, somebody keeps on yawning. Please, if you're not speaking, go on mute. Okay.
Excuse me, sir. Please, can you go back to the capacity planning, the calculation?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, you said you calculated it by 40.
All what I care about is this number.
Okay, the availability. Okay.
The availability of the team members, how many days they are available. Based on that, and based on their average velocity. So this team's average velocity is around 48 points. They deliver every sprint around 50 points, for example. This is what they deliver, okay? And this is how I think about it. This team average velocity is 50, okay? And now I have how many team members? I have over here 60 members. So I actually say equals this. Oh, come on. Equals this. That's fine. Anyway, equals 50. I'm not going to be equals 50 divided by 60 members. It's going to give me 8.3. I don't want to be super particular about that 3. So it's going to be 8 points per, right? So 8 points per team member. This is the safe commitment. And you look at how many days they're available, you get the final number pretty much. Because every sprint has 10 days, right? So if you're available 8 days, it means that you're available 80%, right? If you're available 7 days, it means that you're available 70%. So you multiply that 70% by 7, you get that 5.6 pretty much. It's a formula. I'll give it to you once you get the job. I'll be sharing this sheet with you definitely. And then it's like an automated sheet. You get the final number and you get that kind of like the 90%. And this is what you should commit between these two numbers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Excuse me, I just need a little clarification here where you have points and you have 8. How did you arrive at the 8? Everyone has 8 here.
Yeah, it's from here. This team delivers every sprint 50 points. Okay.
Okay.
So this is their average velocity.
Velocity.
So now you've kind of derived that this team per person, they should commit to 8 points. And I'm gonna answer a question that maybe nobody asked in this class. What about this team if they're brand new? They don't have any historical, I don't know what is their average velocity. That's a good question, Mohammed. How can I start when no average velocity? I can start experimenting. I'm gonna start with 5. If this is a brand new team, I'm gonna say, okay, let's start from 5. Everybody commits to 5 points. And definitely we're gonna look at the capacity as well of everybody. So Jean is available 0 days, for example, not going to be with us this sprint, taking 2 weeks off. So Jean capacity is 0. I have Rainer capacity he's taking 3 days off. It means that he's available 7 days with us, right? So his capacity is 70% of that 5. You're gonna derive to that 20, which is the total points of the team. 20 points, 90% of that is 18. So we're gonna commit between these two. Guess what? The team is superstars and they managed to finish all those and they managed to pull more work again. So they delivered at the end of the sprint 50 points. Now you're gonna get to that point again. Okay, this team is superstar, so let's flip this 5 to an 8 and start from an 8. But if let's say that your team still delivered only around this number, which is 30 points, you're gonna still keep with the 5 until your average velocity increases, you increase the commitment number. Does that make sense? I hope I did not confuse you. Did I confuse you?
No.
Okay.
Please just take it all over.
What is that?
I say just take it all over, please.
I don't understand what you mean, just take it all over.
I kind of want you to explain it one more time.
Oh, okay. Explain it one more time. Okay. So as a team, you have 6 team members. And if you have, this team worked together before, if you know their average velocity, which is what is the average velocity? Maybe let's go one step. What is the average velocity is how much they have been delivering before. So they have been together. This is sprint 1. This is sprint 2. And this is sprint 3, sprint 4, sprint 5, okay? So they have been delivering, they delivered for 55 first sprint, second sprint they delivered 60, third sprint they delivered 70, next sprint they delivered 40, and then they delivered another 40. How do you get the average velocity? Is adding all of those together and dividing it by 5, because there are 5 sprints. The average is going to be here, 53, right? So the average velocity of the team is 53. So if I put this here, the average velocity of the team is 53, which is here, put this 53, divided by 6, is going to give you 8.8. So I would again stick to 8 per team member. So I'll stick 8 per team member and then look for how many days there are available. So I will ask every person, Bota, how many days are available next sprint? Full sprint. Igram, how many days are available? 8, blah, blah, blah. And then I get all the names, and then pretty much I get the commitment because it's just an automated. Like I said, I'll give you the sheet. It's just an automated. The only thing that you need to know is how many days there are available. You're going to get to this number, then you want to commit between the 90% and this number.
Okay, so Mohammed, let me just ask you a quick question. So based on the velocity of this team, usually the average velocity is, when you add everything, usually it's about 53 points per sprint, right? But right now, based on the amount of days, like Jean is not available. So so hers is 0%. So based on, for this particular sprint, even though we're used to them averaging about 53, but because Jean is not available in this particular sprint, we're looking at about 32, where they're going to be delivering 32 instead of the usual like average 53. Is that
exactly? And this is in the planning session. We did not start the sprint yet. This is we're planning our capacity. We don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot pretty much. So we want to look at our true capacity and tell the PO and business, hey, we're going to commit next sprint not more than 32 points, because this is our availability. I don't want to drown the team. We do not have the full team like the last sprint. For example, last sprint, everybody was 10, for example. So your average velocity of the team was completely, like you said, 44. But this time we can't commit more than 32, and advisable even commit to somewhere around 28, because we do not have Jean. We don't have, we blah, 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 right? So based on the capacity, you start committing. And again, how do you come with the points? You come from the average velocity. And if there's no average velocity, you start making a point, pretty much. You assume, okay, let's start from 5 points per. Let's just maybe think that we can deliver 30 points to sprint. And guess what? Your team might deliver 5 points at the end. Now you're gonna, okay, well, this team is a little slow, let's maybe have it 3 points per. You're going to start experimenting until you actually find your sweet spot. But again, you're going to start from somewhere to get to a more confident. And again, if you start with a team that never worked together, you have to assume a number as a start point, and then experiment with, is this number a lot? Is this number few? And then you're going to adjust moving forward. Okay, I know we are way over time, so I'd like to maybe finish this question, because I don't want to leave it half-baked. So I think we've talked about pretty much planning, what is PI planning and what is sprint planning. And now, who does code review? Code review happens by, and I think I have it here as well. Code review happens by, yep, see over here, to do in development, code review, and QA ready for demo and done. These are, I would say, your main columns that I would say, even I call it the story life cycle, right? Story is going to start from here and end here. Once it gets here, it gets burnt. It shows in your burn down pretty much that the story is done. Okay, so all these stories going to start in the sprint setting here. okay? Let's say we're a superstar and we took all those stories, right? Now, let's say I am a developer. I'm gonna take this story and put it in development and has my name and put my name on it as well. Okay, so I am a developer. I'm gonna start, it is in progress or in dev, okay? Now this story needs code review. I'm gonna move it here, okay? And remove my name from it. This is a hint for anybody in the team, and to answer your question, who actually does the code review? It's another developer. There's a rule in development is you don't code review your own code. You don't test your own code, because think about it this way. Somebody could put a code in the company that can steal money, but also somebody could put a code that can give a hacker, like just out of experience or just innocent mistake. But you could give a backdoor to a hacker that enter our system and steals all the data. So we always, that's the rule of software. We always want a second eye to look at your code before moving it to QA, okay? This is what we call code review. It depends on the company and the line of business. I work with cruise industry, for example. We do one code review and then we move it to QA. But I've worked with a pharmaceutical company that we work with FDA. We cannot move it to QA by the FDA, the rule from FDA that we cannot move it to QA before 3 people does code review. So you need to get 3 code reviews from other developers until you move it to QA. So that's the first question. Who does code review? The other developers in the team does code review, okay? Who does UAT? UAT is here, usually, ready for demo, which is some companies call it UAT. UAT is actually done by either QA, but also it is called user acceptance testing, which is done also by the PO, by the user, the final user that is waiting for this pizza to be baked, pretty much. So if I am the user that waiting in front of Domino's, let's say the pizza is here, person is gonna start baking the pizza, and then he's gonna, before he put it in the oven, he's gonna make one person to look at it. Okay, let's put it in the oven. Maybe it's over here, and then QA will look at the pizza. Okay, it's really cooked. I think it's ready. Let's send it to UAT, which is the PO is gonna look at it, smell the pizza, I don't know, even taste a sample from another pizza. Okay, this is good. Let's move it to done. Does that make sense to anybody? To everybody? Okay, please
Yes.
stop me if I'm moving too
Yes.
fast or I confuse
Yes.
you. Okay, so this is code review and UAT. Through QA testing, is the same test as UAT testing? No. QA testing is done by a tester, okay? The UAT testing is done by the user, which is not necessarily the tester. It could be the PO, it could be, I don't know, business user, but yeah, UAT is mainly done by the PO. And sometimes tester can help the PO to gather evidence and put it in the story, but the final person that knocks it to done is going to be the PO. There's one unique situation, okay, where a story is not, we call it not actually a user story or business user story, we call it a tech user story. That means that the user story is so techy that it is kind of like you can't even verify it from a tester perspective. It is something very back end, for example, that when a user enters the data, blah, 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 there's another table in the back end of the database is going to get updated. So there's no way for a tester to go back in the database and get it. Like it's very complicated for a tester to do it. So what we're going to call it, it's called a tech story, where the story is going to be in development. And then the person is going to do a code review. And in that code review, they're going to validate that, yes, once you hit this endpoint or this website, this database gets updated, and then we're going to move it from QA to done. And who moves it is actually the developer that tested the story. So again, the person that does code review cannot be the person that does the development. So I do the development, I'm going to give it to Mohammed since he's another developer to do my code review, then move it to done. Any questions on this?
So what's the role of the Scrum Master in this story movement?
Your role is you are watching the health of the board. You are every day, let me just come back. Every day you have something called a daily stand-up, right? So every day, your daily stand-up is honestly, every day, the story is gonna look something like this. Like they're super scattered, and I'm assuming every story is gonna have a name on it as well, and a point users, and a story point as well on it, okay? So any story of those is gonna have the name of the user story inside the acceptance criteria, and every story is going to have a name as well. So I know that this story is for, I don't know, John. This story is for Mo. This story is for, I don't know, Rita, whatever, okay? So pretty much, so I know who's the owner of every story. Every story in all the platform will have its owner or the picture of the owner on it, okay? You as a Scrum Master, you're all gonna open the daily stand-up. Good morning, everybody. Today is day, I don't know, 3 in the stand-up, 7 days to go in the sprint. Let's start today with John. John, how are you doing? John is gonna be, well, today I'm working this story, blah, 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 and no issues. Moving forward, no issues, and I'm gonna work today and blah, 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 and no major issues. Okay, thank you, John. Let's move to Mo. Mo, how are you doing? Mo, well, I'm working this story, blah, blah, blah. So your role is to make sure that everybody is moving forward, and your touch being based on every single story on the board, not to ask, what are you doing in the story, but to ask in general, as a person, Mo, how are you doing? Are you stuck? Are you moving forward? Well, I'm moving forward, no issues. Haritha might say, well, I'm working on this story, but I need one more code review, and I've been looking for somebody to code review, but I couldn't find anybody since yesterday. As a Scrum Master, I'll be like, okay, who can help Haritha team to actually code review the story? Mo is gonna be like, Haritha, I'll help you. Okay, awesome, thank you, Mo. Let's move next. John, or whatever. Let's ask Bobby, how are you doing in QA? Well, I'm testing this story and it's moving smooth so far. Thank you, thank you. And then I'm gonna ask PO, how are we doing? Well, I'm looking at this UAT story and it's looking good. As long as I've covered your role as a Scrum Master is to make sure that these stories are moving smooth and they're not stuck. Let's say that this person say, I am stuck. I'm gonna ask the team how to unstick him, but let's say that we don't know how to fix it and we're really stuck. I'll be like, okay, can you please add in the comment why this story is blocked and actually block it? There's something in Jira that, or in any platform that I can put it in. We can have a column called blocked, or even something like a flag. I can flip this all story red and just make it very visible for us that this is blocked. So this is something kind of like a panic, not a panic, but it's just like a flag for us to, you gotta unblock this person. This is one of my highest priority as a Scrum Master today, is to unblock Haritha or something, right? So your role is to make sure that everybody is moving forward, and if somebody is blocked, your role is to find somebody to unblock them. Okay.
Oh, I have a question. I'm so sorry. One is, we say it's ready for demo. Is it different from the sprint review, or this one is the first step you take before you go to the sprint review?
This is within the sprint. The sprint review is at the end of the sprint.
At the end of the sprint, okay.
And you're gonna look, once all these stories came to done, everything came to done, you're gonna actually start reviewing those stories, and you're gonna have stakeholders actually looking at the work. And again, I don't like, so since we're doing, you see over here, the PO is looking at a story by story. At the sprint review at the end, or what I call it demo sometimes, we don't have to demo every single story. We demo the highest priority item that we want to brag to business about, or we want to get their input, right? So let's say that you fix 3 bugs here. I don't have to demo the 3 bugs. This is kind of like I'm telling business, hey, we fixed something that should have been working from the start, but we fucked up, right? Kind of like this, right? So I don't have to demo the bugs, but I want to demo a cool new functionality that we've been working on, and I want to get your input, whether you like it or you want us to tweak it.
Okay. My next question is the PI planning as a time box, or?
Yes, I would advise you to actually, this is something that we started, and I wanted to start to actually, it is time box. It's a 2 days event, actually. that we,
Okay, I see, Irene, okay, yes, okay.
but I want to youtube.com. I wanna, let me,
What age is 2 days event, okay. 2 days event.
man, wake up. Okay, so we started this group today, or I don't know, couple of, and you will find actually the first class. That's why I came here. I would advise you to look at the first one here. It starts with the PI, what's happening exactly in the PI. And so I'm going to share here the link. If you just type Bicon Technology, moving forward, you're going to find these recordings sitting here. We don't have to send it back. So please keep checking our channel. All the videos is going to be on YouTube moving forward. Okay, did I answer your question? Semi, did I answer your question? So it's a time box 2 days, and please visit the first video here. Literally, it is the picture. He shows you the agenda of the PI planning. So you get to digest all of it.
Thank you, I appreciate